You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
Huey Lewis. Wow. That's a great choice there. That's kind of funny. Oh, she's singing now. Wow. So, that was like the weirdest intro. Welcome back to the Hemp Connoisseur Radio. As always, I am joined by the lovely Miss Samantha Walsh.
Oh, thank you.
And we also have Sam Lewis Isaacs joining us today. Our guest will be joining us later on in the show, Mr. Joe Megysey. Joe Megysey. Why don't you tell everybody about Mr. Joe Megysey? He's been on before, and we love him.
Joe Megysey. Right now, he's the communications director for the committee for... I can't think right now. For the Committee for Responsible Regulation.
There we go.
You're welcome. I think that's what threw me off was the sound, the feedback in my headphones. Now I'm more comfortable.
Okay.
I felt like I was in a dark, lonely cave, sad, curled up in the fetal position, crying for help, and all David's doing is laughing at me.
I am just laughing at you right now.
Just laughing at me
totally
while I'm reaching out for help. But Joe is actually, he's a great... He's a well-versed political and PR flack. Mm-hmm. He's done a lot of the communication and legwork for the Amendment 64 campaign. Like I said, he's on the he's the communications director now for the Committee for Responsible Regulation. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And where he's going to come in and talk politics with us. There's a lot going on right now.
We love talking politics here. That's always fun.
There's a lot going on.
And whether Joe knows it or not, we're going to convince him, or you're going to convince him to help us out with our New Year's Eve gala.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Something a gay guy likes more than throwing a party. I don't think it's going to be a hard sell.
No, I don't think so either. I'm like, we're going to do a gala. And he's like, are you kidding me? I'm totally going to be there.
He's going to love it.
So, yeah, but we're putting him on the spot on the radio and making sure he gets on it, definitely. Because we love to put people on the spot.
Ambush time.
Ambush. We're going to snipe him. So, since we don't have a guest yet, and we're really going to go over the news with when Joe gets here.
Yes.
So we're kind of freeformed at the beginning of the show,
Well, I
Sam.
think we weren't here the week before because there was golf tournaments and bongathons.
Well, last week we were here, but...
You were here. I meant the week before that.
You're right, the week before that. And, at the end of the show last week, we kind of talked a little bit about bongathon and how much fun it was, but it was almost like we crammed it in. And I don't think that does what we did that weekend justice, because we didn't get a chance to talk about the clinic golf tournament as well.
No.
So I really do think that we need to share the both of these events a little bit more.
Game. Let me tell you something, y'all. Yeah. Jack Nicklaus, watch your back.
Jack Nicklaus?
Nicholas.
There you go.
Nicholas? No, Nicholas.
No, Jack
That's
Nicholas.
what I said. You must have misheard
Jack
me.
Nicholson.
No, I'm pretty sure I said Jack Nicklaus.
It was like a combination between Jack Nicholas, Jack Nicholson, and
no,
Jack Nicholas.
That can't be right.
Jack Nicholson.
Tiger Woods, watch your back. That's much easier to say.
Tiger Woods, watch your back.
I'm coming at you with a golf club, Elon style.
Well, we do know that Tiger Woods likes blondes like yourself, so you probably.
I'm not blonde anymore, though.
Well, you're really not blonde anymore.
I got a little brunette. I got some.
I know. I actually am now treating you more seriously now.
Fuck you.
Really not. Actually, really not.
Just kidding. No, really go fuck yourself.
So all right. So the first thing we did 2 weekends ago was we went to Bongathon. Mm-hmm. And we got there Friday afternoon.
Yes.
We left nice and early in the morning. We got there Friday afternoon, set up camp, and then we hung out all day Saturday during the events.
And we got hailed on.
Yes. But it didn't matter. It was one of those kind of events that was like, oh, okay, this is just part of the weekend. We're getting hailed on.
Yeah, it was in and out.
But it was still a blast. Yeah. But, there was a lot of weird stuff that kind of happened that, like, obviously when you plan an event like this, it's almost like organized chaos, right? I mean, you can't do much.
So organized chaos.
Yeah. I mean, it's a hard thing to do. I mean, they had 660 plus campers.
That's what I estimated out, like 300 or 400, 600.
Well, that was my understanding. And I mean, I don't have the exact figures off the top,
awesome.
But I know there was over 600 tickets sold. And I'm assuming if you bought a ticket, you were there. We didn't get to, there were still people filing in.
Yeah.
Like a little bit before we left on Friday evening. Because we left, like 7 o'clock around Friday?
Yeah.
6 or 7. I mean, Saturday, I should say. Because we had to come back for the clinic golf tournament. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Because that's a blast and it's a great event for the cannabis industry. But we're talking about Bongathon first.
Let's talk some Bongathon.
First of all, first camping party you've ever done, Sam?
No, I actually grew up in Grand Junction, where they have every year since before I was born. I'm pretty sure Country Jam, which is a 4-day long inebriated just shit show. And it's awesome, you know, so you have like the big campgrounds area where everyone hangs out, unless you're a local like us and you don't want to subject yourself to the torture of 104-degree weather. You just go back to your parents' house and sleep in the air conditioning and then come back later for the night parties.
Does it get that hot in Grand Junction?
Oh, yeah, it's insane. It's Africa hot there. It's awful.
That's weird.
It's awful. Yeah. So no, I'm not a camp party virgin. I'm actually a camp party veteran, but it was my first bongathong.
So since you've done other little camp parties, what was your experience between bongathon and like the country festival?
Country Jam. It's definitely more expansive, and the music's definitely better.
At Country Jam or Bongathon?
At Bongathon.
Okay. I was gonna say.
Just kidding. Country's okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I mean, it's the same, you know, you have a bunch of friendly. I would actually say it was a lot more peaceful. I'm not going to lie. There's always fights and cops at Country Jam.
Because they're just drinking.
I'm sure there's some, like, you know, people doing drugs every once in a while. Or I shouldn't say doing drugs. I should say connoisseuring of some marijuanas.
There you go.
But, you know, there's definitely, like, prolific drinking.
That's the plural of marijuana, by the way.
Like
marijuanas.
Yeah. I'm like Shakespeare, motherfuckers. All right, I'm just gonna run rampant over this English thing.
That's right.
So, yeah, and I definitely say it's a more positive atmosphere and vibe.
Yeah, I would say that too. I mean, that was one thing we noticed is there was short of one incident. One asshole, basically.
It was an arsonist.
You know,
arsonist.
There was literally, I mean, an arsonist there. So let's just say this. All right, so Bongathon, I mean, you know, things like this never happen on schedule. But they were working on it, and they were close to being on schedule with the first, and the main event is the first event, actually, where it was the individual competition, fastest quarter. Big shout out to Mr. Mark Rice, who's been on our show a couple times with all the Bongathon guys, because he destroyed it. 5 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yes.
He smoked a quarter.
Awesome.
You know, they all have regulation bongs, and his partner Mary, his wife.
Yeah, they all have the same glass that's provided by the Bongathon, right?
Yeah.
People who run the Bongathon.
The same glass.
Which is,
Jetter provides it. Well,
yes.
actually, there was different glass
Jetter.
companies that did different glass, but I think he did the bong.
So it's all uniform. Like, you can't bring your own equipment.
It's regulation.
Yeah,
it's regulation, right?
Except for the one where it says there's no rules, which I guess you can bring your
Well,
own.
the hookah competition was no rules, but everybody already had the same hookah.
Right, yes.
Well, they didn't say no rules. When you say no rules, and they do say that, that means it's like, is it like full contact hookah? Can I like jump on the other team and distract it? I mean, I guess you could have because they said no rules, but nobody did that.
And they probably should have during that 5-man hookah, since Adam Dunn came in as a ringer and tore that shit up.
He did tear.
The Hemp Kingpin himself.
The Hemp Kingpin showed his legendary status, and like people have been training for like months for this and had teamed like strategies. And you know, our very own producer Chris was a member of Mark Rice's team, so we were like, that's the team to watch. Mark is killer. And then Norm was on the other team. We're like, these are the two main competitor teams. Adam Dunn was just asked last minute with Los Marijuanas and some other guys.
The MC.
That was the MC, and to just jump up. Mm-hmm. And so we were like, well, they're going to probably do okay, but these are the two teams to watch. So we actually put you on camera, Sam, because Chris didn't have the camera.
And the most amazing camera work you'll ever see in your life.
We put you on Adam because we're like, well, let's get her up on stage and she can get Adam. And if they're doing good, she'll stay on them. If not, she can kind of get the crowd shot. And they were doing good. And I'm sitting there with our other camera guy, Ian, and we're watching between Mark Rice's team, which Chris was on, and then Norm's team, which had a lot of heavy hitters on it too, because we were like, these are the two
Mark
teams.
Rice had won, what was it again?
Mark Rice had won the fastest quarter. He did it in 5 minutes, 40 seconds. He won the 7-man relay, where it was 7 guys doing a relay. Each had to smoke a gram, and they won that one. And then we were like, well, come on, he's got to be able to, he's on a roll. He's going to kill it. Because I've never seen anybody like Mark. He is a smoking machine.
And I remember when we would walk up to him and he's got his little earbuds in, and he's listening to
He was focused.
Tiger.
Like,
dun, dun, dun,
he was. He was pumped up.
He had that fire in his eyeball, and he was just like in the zone. Like, you want to talk to him. You didn't want to get within 4 feet of him because, like, you were just like, get out of his way. That guy is zoning right now, you know?
He was. But before that even started, I mean, they get all of the competitors in, and there's like 3 competitors for the fastest quarter, which is the main event, that were the ones to watch. It was Mark, Sean Honecker, who's the owner of the land for South Park, great guy, and just really like awesome to allow us the Bongathon to be there, and then Norm, and we were like, these are the 3 guys that are gonna kill it. And then right before they were like about to give out the cans, because everything's in a sealed can, like we've talked about on the show, with the crappiest can openers.
Oh, I know. So you see the blisters on some
Oh my
people.
God, it was hysterical.
It was sad.
So there was a challenge for the teammate, like kind of like the pit crew guy or girl who was, like Mary was for Mark, to get the can opened before they can even break up the bud and put it in the bong. And like we already knew Mark was going to kill it because the first puff of smoke came up from Mark. And everybody else, and I'm watching the people right in front of us still opening a can.
I know.
And he's already like, I'm already finished my first bowl. And like it was, and the next puff of smoke came from like Sean's camp. But it was like a while. It was a few seconds later. I mean, it was at least 20 seconds later. So we're like, well, Mark's already got a lead. And he ended up winning by over a minute.
Yeah, he was insane.
Crazy.
That was a lot of fun. And I actually had a lot of fun explaining it to people.
Me too.
After the fact. Because
really
people were
it.
like, what's Bongathon? Because, a lot of the people in the political circle don't necessarily, while they enjoy their...
Well, they don't want to associate with this kind of a part of the crowd because it's the party side.
It's a little bit of the party side. It's a little bit of the 420 crowd. Yeah, that's for sure. But they were like, oh, my God, that's insane. And they were just loving the ideas of it. And it was just like a lot of fun to rehash with people.
It is. I was having so much fun when we were going around distributing the magazine the next week, telling people, I'm like, oh, yeah, because I was tired, too. And after that weekend. And on Monday, I'm out delivering. And I'm like, oh, yeah, man, I just came back from Bongathon and the clinic golf tournament. And they're like, what is Bongathon like? Because everybody sees the posters. And it seems like not enough people are like jumping in on it because they didn't know they don't know what they're getting into. So I really think next year Bongathon is going to be huge, and we're going to be looking at 800,000
especially
people
like if
they're
you
not
can
ready
camp,
for it.
Yeah, especially when you're going to camp in style, Jenny Cush.
Oh my God,
style.
Oh, wow.
Jenny Cush style was ridiculous. I had never seen anybody set up a camp like Jenny Cush did.
I know,
That
and
was
so like
industrial.
if you can camp in style, I think you can definitely bring a lot of people who are sort of, camping, like whatever. Like, no, we're gonna pimp this out.
Yeah.
RVs. I'm gonna have like velvet cushions and air conditioning.
They
and,
had a
like,
gas fire
champagne
pit.
bottle boys. I'm gonna have Sam in a thong, and he's gonna be just
Sam's
like
gonna be in a
handing
thong.
out little joints to people, little
Nice.
goil.
Out of the
Nice.
thong, hopefully
Yes.
not. Hopefully
Why not? Bongathong, literally.
Bongathong.
I actually won a bongathong, remember?
You did win a bongathon.
I won a bongathon.
How was that not on the video? We've already looked at the rough edit of our cannabis tube shoot,
Yeah.
and that wasn't on the video. We need to have the bongathong.
I don't
yeah,
model
he
it,
won
so
it.
just be relieved
Well,
to
yeah.
people out there.
Speaking
there's
of models, here comes
speaking
Mr.
of
Joe
models,
Megysey.
Joe Megysey in the house.
Yeah, what's up, Joe? Joe's joining us. Joe, we're talking about Bongathon and the clinic golf tournament, the weekend Sam and I had a couple weeks ago. There was a question I meant to ask.
Joe, I got a
Chris,
question for
actually.
you. Are you a camper, Joe?
Yeah, I'm a big camper. I love camping.
Bongathon next year, man.
I know. I had to miss it this year. I was out of town this year.
Yeah. So
No, I haven't. been. I was just missed.
it's
I was
like once
invited.
I think once you've been there, like the first time, you're like addicted now, right? Aren't you all guys all
Yeah.
like, we're going next year again?
They
We're
had
totally
someone
going
brought
next year.
trampoline.
What's that?
Someone brought a trampoline.
Sam
up there.
jumped on that trampoline.
I jumped on it.
We
We
got
all
footage
jumped
of
on the
it. We got
trampoline.
footage of it.
It
I
was
never
adorable.
I didn't see the trampoline.
It was
actually. I
way
missed
back
it.
there next to the porta
Joe, you want to
potties.
go jump on trampolines?
Yeah,
with me?
hell yeah. Where is the bongathon again?
It's on private
Middle of
land
nowhere.
out in South Park.
In South Park.
So once you sign up, they give you a little map and you get to find it.
It
It is in
really
the
is
middle of nowhere.
I love
so
it.
we keep rambling. I never get to tell the story about the fire idiot.
Oh, yeah. So tell the story about the fire.
So we're
idiot real
about
quick.
to
We were on
start.
it.
So we're like, first of all, Bongathon is this huge open field of like sage grass. So every time a car
Yeah,
drove
sage.
over, you could smell all the sage because it's breaking up. So it's kind
Love
of that fun.
sage.
Sam was
That's cool.
obsessed with sage.
Love
all
that.
over
But
there.
it's
Crazy.
it's all sage grass, huge open field, not really any trees for like
No.
like 500
It's a high
yards
plains.
away.
football
It's a high
fields
plains
away.
desert climate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're about to start the first competition. We're all ready. Our cameras are ready. All the competitors are ready. They're about to give out the cans of bud, and somebody yells fire.
Yeah.
And there's a fire like 200 yards away from the
See
main
the
areas,
smoke,
and all the
yeah.
campers, like over the rolling hills. And we're like, where the
It was a
how-
little scary. I mean,
Well,
you're
'cause-
thinking that this is gonna go. Oh fuck! This is how wildfires start.
Right,
that
exactly.
burn hundreds of thousands
Exactly.
of acres.
I mean, luckily
Yeah,
it's been
scary.
fairly rainy and wet during
Yeah.
that time, and we did get the hail like an hour later or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But what happened was 3 of the competitors are also organizers for the event, so they had to stop, jet out, deal with the fire, and put it out, and they did an amazing job of it. It wasn't near trees, so there wasn't that huge scariness, like, oh man, we're about to start a forest fire. But it was like, we got a fire, we got to put this bitch out.
Yeah, there was a lot of smoke.
It was a lot of smoke because that sage was burning up.
Yeah. I like that sage.
Yeah, no, we know you like that
Yeah,
sage,
but it
Sam.
smelled good.
It did smell good.
Smelled great.
But here's the best thing, and here's a lesson for all of you. If you go to Bongathon,
Okay.
just go to have a good time. Because if you fuck around
Yeah.
with everybody else's good time at Bongathon, they will not stand for it.
Well, they ended up kicking that guy out, right?
Not just that guy,
Not
though.
just that
And
guy.
all his
All of his friends at his campsite who had nothing to do with it, right? Because they had a video of just one guy walking away from the fire.
Wow, they had that video of
And
this?
they went in and they grabbed all their keys and then they made them walk 30 miles.
It was like it's because it's a
Cops pick 'em
30-mile dirt road, and what they did was they called the cops and had the cops pick them up.
Great.
I
Yeah.
just keep imagining that walk.
Do not fuck with Bongathon. apparently.
Everyone's there to have a good time, so just don't be that asshole that
Bongathon.
steps out.
How many people were there this year?
Over 600 people.
Really?
Yeah,
lot
that
of
was
people.
our understanding. It was over 600 people there.
I know, Joe. We got to go next year.
We'll go.
Let's
Yeah.
camp in
It
didn't
style.
feel like
Let's
it.
do it.
We're
I'm a
gonna
big
camp in
camper in style.
No, we're totally camping
Some
in
gourmet
style.
cooking.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
no, we're gonna get like
Some
we're gonna
steaks.
get an RV next time. We're gonna have throw rugs and couches and like we're
Velvet.
gonna create this whole
Yeah.
setup and it's gonna be like all Hemp Connoisseur and like we're gonna have a huge campsite.
It stinks.
wait.
Where I'm already planning
I like
this
it.
shit. That's how excited I am.
And
about it.
cabana boys and thongs.
I love it. Sign me up for
Yeah, boys and thongs. Hence the bongathong.
So, how close are we on time? Chris, put your
We got to
phone
take a break.
down.
Chris
Pay
is like
attention.
texting. I mean, wow, we're just.
But you
like,
got
not
a
even
new lady
focused
love
yet.
you're texting.
All right, so when we get back,
It better be about sex. You cannot be like texting
No.
that much unless there's sex involved.
Sexting.
when we get back, we're going to talk about the clinic golf tournament because it really deserves being talked about. And of course, we have to get into the political conversations with Joe. My thoughts behind that is, though, that's going to take up the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Good.
Totally.
Okay.
With
So-
Sam making just
Were you
fun
at the
little
clinic golf
comments
tournament,
or
by the way,
whatever.
Joe?
That's what I
You
did.
weren't, were you?
No, I was not there.
Another good event.
Yeah,
Another
that sounds
good
like it was a
event.
good one.
Yeah, well, they
yeah.
raised like $40,000 for
For
charity.
Yeah.
multiple sclerosis.
Well, let's talk
That's
about that when
amazing.
we get back from the break because we'll just keep talking if we don't actually take the break. So we'll be right back.
Independent Records and Videos has been your locally owned and operated choice for music, movies, and lifestyle accessories since 1978. Independent Records and Videos has 7 locations from Denver to Colorado Springs to Pueblo to serve your entertainment needs. Whether it's vinyl, CDs, DVDs, books, smoking accessories, or hundreds of other fun and fanciful items, Independent is ready and waiting to make your dreams come true. We are always buying, selling, and trading vinyl, CDs, books, and DVDs, so sell yours and buy ours. Independent Records and Videos, your entertainment headquarters. Check us out at beindependent.com or on Facebook.
Whether you are a commercial grower or cultivate as a hobby, No Dough Urban Garden Supply is Denver's first stop for your hydroponic grow needs. With a wide range of products including House and Garden, Botanicare, and Fox Farm, their knowledgeable staff can get you started on your first garden or help you with your well-established business. No Dough Urban Garden Supply is located in downtown Denver at 1330 27th Street, 4 blocks north of Coors Field near MMD of Colorado. They are open 6 days a week from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Call 303-296-3424 or visit them on the web at www.nodoughurbangardensupply.com.
The National Cannabis Industry Association would like to thank its members who represent the leading professional businesses in America's emerging legal cannabis market. NCIA is the only organization that has unified legitimate cannabis business across the nation to fight for real reform in Washington, D.C. For more information or to make your business a member, visit us online at thecannabisindustry.org.
All right, we are back in the studio with, the lovely Miss Samantha Walsh.
Yes, the lovely Samantha. And the
And
other
then we
lovely
have
Sam.
Thank you.
Sam Lewis Isaacs.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Yes, and then Mr. Joe Megysey. How are you today, Joe?
I'm great.
Now we can officially be like, hey, how's everything going? Because you're sitting down, you're settled
I'm
in.
here finally. Yep.
Excellent.
I'm doing great.
So we're going to talk about the clinic golf tournament because we got to give those guys a shout out. Have you heard of the clinic golf tournament before?
Of course, yeah,
Yeah.
I heard about it.
They're pretty much like the biggest charity event in the cannabis industry up to this point, at least, right?
Yeah, until we get our charity going.
Oh,
right?
until we get ours going. I'm not going to say we're competing with them on charities.
No.
It's
No way.
It's not a competition. It's just we just want to get it going.
Maybe
It's life is always
But-
a competition. I don't know what you're talking about.
Friendly
Win.
competition.
Friendly competition. Well, this is the 4th charity classic the clinic has put on.
Yes.
And this is the 2nd one I've been to.
And
so I was at the 3rd.
I mean, I think it's really important for, the marijuana community to be involved in community betterment and, giving back. I don't know. What do you think, Joe?
I think it's extremely important. I think this is a industry and a business that a lot of people in the public think are just concerned about getting messed up and getting stoned all the time. When the reality is, there's a lot of responsible business people involved in this industry who want to have a positive impact in the community and want to give back, and that's why they're doing this. They're viewing it as another way to generate a positive impact within their community.
Can you believe that during one of the working groups that Smart Colorado actually tried to prevent not necessarily dispensaries or marijuana businesses from donating to charities, but that they just wouldn't get to sponsor them or advertise with them. Like, that's insane.
It's crazy.
Well,
That's
see, that's
smart.
messed up because that's saying, you're telling me that you don't want them to help people because you don't want them to have an image that people might like.
But their
Boom.
talking point was that, I don't want to go to an MS walk and see sponsored by Bud Weed. And
Why
it's like,
not?
why not? That's the whole point
fuck
of these
not.
things is to get your name out there, right?
But it's okay to
It's
be
a good
sponsored by
cause.
Coors.
But
Yeah, but it's
That's
okay.
fine.
Right.
It's
Right,
okay
fine.
to have Coors Field where the Rockies play. Baseball
Where people
and beer's
take their
okay.
family, right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine if there was a chronic, a THC magazine coliseum?
That would be,
Oh,
that would
God.
be
David's
awesome.
eyes just
I
got
know,
big.
I
That was a
know.
mistake. I shouldn't have brought
I'm
that
on
up.
like the Hemp Connoisseur Stadium at Mile High. No, because I see. You know what? I hate that. By the way, I don't like the corporatization of professional sports. Really, I don't. I'm not a big fan of that at all. I don't like the idea. I mean, like we get annoyed here. I mean, I'm not even from Denver, and I'm annoyed.
Your liberal is showing.
My liberal is showing, but I don't like. I'm sorry. It's Coors Field should be Rocky Stadium.
Oh, it should. Yeah, that sucks. I
It should
remember when
be,
like
and
it's the
it's-
Tostitos Bowl instead
It's
of the
Mile
Rose Bowl
High
anymore.
Stadium.
Oh, that's
It's
awful.
Mile High Stadium. It
The
is not.
Tostitos
It's not
Bowl.
Invesco Field or now it's Sports Authority Stadium. I'm like, no, screw you. I'm not even going to try to keep up with the name. It's
fucking-
Mile High Stadium.
Yeah, I hate
cares,
that.
man?
too.
And we hated that when they did it because I'm from Boston. They did that to the Boston Garden.
What did they
I'm
change
sorry.
it to?
Wait a minute. Let me say that right. They did that to the Boston Garden. And that really pissed me off because I'm like, what the fuck? No, I mean, seriously, they did that to the Boston Garden, and it's like it became the Fleet Center. I don't even know what it is anymore, but it's because it's still the
Yeah,
Garden.
they keep changing the names. It's awful.
It's still the Boston Garden. Fenway Park. Could you imagine if they changed the name of Fenway Park to like?
Bubba Kush Park. That would be awesome.
Oh, that would be good.
Well, that would be kind of cool. But no, I mean,
Pre-98 Bubba
you
Kush
change
Park.
Fenway Park to like J.P. Morgan Chase Park. I mean,
Oh.
people would go up in arms about something like that. And we just went off a total random
Yeah.
subject.
You
I-
went off a total
I-
random subject.
You're right, I did. That was my ramble right now for sports.
But legitimizing this industry.
Legitimizing this industry. I think that's, yes. Thanks for taking us
What other
back,
ways,
Sam.
You're
what
welcome.
can we do to legitimize this industry even more, Joe?
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, Sam. We have the voters are going to be voting on a tax
This November.
this November on marijuana businesses. Now, it is a high tax.
It is a high tax.
It's a very high tax, and I know there's many in the marijuana community that probably rightfully so think it's too high of a tax, and it is compared
much?
to alcohol and tobacco. It's very high. So it's
it's high enough
it's
for me.
15% sale also on excise. So that's
Oh, right.
as it leaves a cultivation facility to either infuse product manufacturer or a retail center.
Which, by the way, can we clarify what that means for these guys?
Yes, sure. Like infused product are people who make edibles or concentrates.
No. I mean from the cultivation to the retail side. Because this is, as far as I'm concerned, this should be unconstitutional as far as the way this tax is. Because these guys are vertically integrated.
Yeah, so they're taxing themselves basically.
taxing
But they're only
themselves.
vertically integrated for a little while, and then it's permissive.
9 months.
Well,
9 months.
yeah, but okay, but at the same point, what it's saying is, I mean, let's just say, to me, but when I say vertical integration, I'm thinking like microbrewery.
Vertical integration means that someone who you have to sell what you grow.
Think microbrewery.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
I know. But
So,
For the audience.
So imagine, like, you go into the Wind Coop, and I bring up the Wind Coop for a very specific reason because, it used to be one of Mr. Hickenlooper's plots.
dun dun dun.
Yes, it is. That's right.
So imagine for a moment, because you go into the Wind Coop, and it's a good brewery. It's nice. And then you go in there, and they have the huge, tubs, and I don't have the exact term of it, that where the, what? Kettles, thank you, where the beer is brewed. And then they take that, and then they they put it in a keg, and then they transfer it over to the bar in the same building that you can see through glass. Now imagine for a moment in this world of marijuana excise tax that you're talking about, Joe, that they now have to say, wait a minute, before that happens, you have to now purchase this from the brewery and pay this tax on top of it for your own product. Any other business would go nuts over this.
So I'm going to be paying a hell of a lot more.
Well, not a hell of a lot more. It's probably going to come. It depends on. We also have this big. There's a big issue of locals are going to be enacting their own taxes. Boulder, Denver, the cities are going to enact their own taxes. So
Manitou was talking about it the other night.
So it depends on what level
Manitou's not stupid
of tax they could put on, but yeah, I mean, and there's also argument to be made that the price of marijuana now is artificially low in Colorado.
Well, if you're comparing it to black market,
Yeah.
and I think that's the thing is we're comparing all these prices to black market.
That's
right?
the thing. Because when we were all growing up, we spent like $50 an eighth. That was the going. That was the going range.
$100 a quarter on
60
average,
in
unless it was
Pennsylvania.
120.
60 in Pennsylvania.
Wait. You guys paid for your marijuana?
That's
Yes.
because we're not a hot chick.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're
I
talking
got a
about.
hairy chest. I
Explain
pay
it.
for things.
I have a hairy chest too.
No, you don't.
Some marijuana coming out of medical dispensaries now, like $20 an eighth or something, is like artificially low, just
Yeah.
because
It is.
the market is oversaturated in Colorado.
Well, I'm generally paying, honestly, because I'm paying around $60 a quarter. That's like the price I'm usually paying, and I'm paying like for good product, and most places are doing that. And some of the times, you get the little industry discount and kickback, so some people might be paying more.
I get that.
He says like, yes, I do. I love
do
that.
get that.
It's really good.
You like get industry kickbacks?
Yeah, they're like, oh, you work with.
Well, you're not,
in the
just
industry?
discounts.
I'm like, yeah, like you work right next to, this and that.
Yeah.
All right, here you go.
Yeah.
Free joints.
But it's like that in the bar industry. I kind of think
Yeah.
that's the way it should be. If you work at another bar, usually you don't have to pay covers to get in a lot of bars and stuff like that, or you get discounts from the bartenders.
Yeah. Wait, you guys pay for your drinks too at the bar?
Because we're not hungry.
I don't
I don't.
drink.
Well, yeah, I don't really
Well,
drink, so
Sam,
no, actually,
you
I don't.
are an anomaly amongst anomalies.
yeah,
so
I don't know what that means.
But yeah,
the
So
price
with
is-
the tax, they'll probably come back
Poor
up to
Joe.
somewhere around there. I would imagine $50 an eighth, somewhere around there.
you think it
would come
will?
up.
Because you're looking at
Probably even less.
Well,
Now,
'cause
what about people like your Rob Corey's and stuff that say this industry's given enough? We shouldn't have to do this.
I agree.
Rob Corey likes to say 40% tax, which is not true. But I think he's counting maybe Denver's.
Well, he's counting
taxes.
the city and then the
But
county.
even then,
or,
15% isn't really 15% when you're talking about wholesale. It sort of gets absorbed into the price.
But who sets the wholesale price?
Well, I think they're still figuring that out.
I think that's gonna be Department of Revenue.
the power and the revenue.
But they won't be able to set it until the tax passes.
It's a good face.
I'm like, you guys don't even know about Bud. How can you set us
Right,
a price?
a price for it.
And like what?
Well, they've got a good
They might be
board of
going off the black
advisory
market.
people that have been giving them.
That work in the industry, that are representatives of the industry, that are working.
Is the black market here for like a gram different than the black market in Pennsylvania? Does anyone know?
I don't know. I don't live in Pennsylvania.
Well, Pennsylvania, a gram is $20.
A gram is $20.
In
That's
Pennsylvania,
black market.
Black market. I mean, there's no legal market.
I would imagine it's lower here.
You would think, but $20. Well, yeah, because if you are doing black market and you're doing diversion and buying it from a dispensary, you're buying it as an ounce, so you're breaking it up then.
Yeah, there's no dispensaries in Pennsylvania.
No, I know. So I'm just saying, what's that?
$10 a gram.
$10 a gram is what it is.
Chris
is all laughing. He's like, you guys have not bought in the black market already. $10 a gram.
Yeah, I just went to
So
the
great.
dispensary today.
Half
Got
the
some
price
the
of
best weed
Pennsylvania.
I've ever smoked.
That's your fact of the day, folks.
10 in
Black
other-
market in
But there-
Colorado is now half the price of black market in
Hey,
Pennsylvania.
But
That's
regardless, is I think
Yeah.
this vote we need to really approve this tax, and I say this as a conservative. I've
So
never
we
voted.
should.
I think we need to approve it. But, we're fighting
We
for
do.
legitimacy and to be thought of as an adult industry in this group. And part of the way we get there to buy that legitimacy is to get at the legislature and elsewhere is to approve this tax. And we fought for low taxes at the legislature. Sam and I, when we were taking this discussion. And, given the makeup of the legislature, a higher rate of taxation came in, and that's what we're stuck with, and that's what's being referred to the voters. So we do need to approve this tax.
No. I completely agree with you, Joe. I disagree with the tax, but I agree with passing it because we are the newest kids on the block as an industry.
Yep.
We kind of do have to pay our dues. We've been paying our dues more than any other new industry might have been paying.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
We want to do that. We want to be legitimate. We're the only one that wants to be taxed.
Right.
But just not too much.
But yeah, and that's sort of this high rate of taxation is sort of the penalty or the cost of being the first out of the gate. That Colorado, as other states come online, I hope that they will not be this high.
Yeah, because you're not competing. Like when you're competing in a
Get it?
bubble, if you have no outside competitors outside of Washington, who also has actually a very high tax. What else? What are you going to compete with? But once all these other states start coming online, then the price will drop.
Well,
right?
do you think that we can get the tax rate to drop? I mean, that's a harder thing said than done.
That's why you pay the good lobbyists, right, Joe?
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Well, I mean, I would love to see if there is going to be this tax. I want to see the audit like we have of the MMED. Of like, what are you spending all of this money that you're taxing on?
What are we spending this money on?
And how much are you wasting it?
Good
Like,
question.
are you leasing 30 SUVs that Escalades of no less?
Yeah.
You're not even like getting run of the mill cars that you need. It's like, why do you need like?
It's industry standard, okay? Escalades, right? So, Joe, what are we going to be spending this money on?
I mean, a lot of it's enforcement. The sales, it's two types of taxes. The excise tax, based on grows, that goes to the retail facilities, and then it's also sales tax that consumers will be paying.
The 15% was promised in Amendment 64, and that goes to BEST. What's BEST?
BEST is an organization that funds capital construction projects for schools, public education.
Right.
So,
So
they're
we
going
are
to
really
be
thinking about the children.
replacing roofs that are crumbling on schools,
Nice.
and desks, that sort of thing.
Can we get air conditioning into those?
And
schools?
air conditioning, HVAC, yeah, exactly.
Get rid of asbestos.
Exactly what BEST pays for.
I want to come back and talk more about where that money is going and the good side of it, not necessarily. I mean, you need it on the regulation too, but we do have to go on a break. So we'll be back in just a moment with Mr. Joe Megysey.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it. On grass. Runongrass.com. Let's face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706.
Green Faith Ministry is for spiritual guidance, MMJ information, and networking combined with compassionate care on the way to enlightenment with all Green Faith sacraments. Green Faith provides charity assistance, including medical and food throughout the year. Contact them at greenfaithministry.com.
All right, we're back. And sometimes I feel bad for our listeners because they don't actually get to hear what we talk about during the break.
It's probably better.
It probably is.
It's a lot better.
But we right when we left, we were talking about the tax for BEST, and Joe, you were explaining that, and that's what we voted for when we voted for Amendment 64. That was the tax that was kind of written in, and I'm kind of confused by this, by the way, because I know what Tabor is, and I know that in Colorado we have to vote for the tax, but can't you essentially make the argument that we shouldn't have to make a vote for that tax because it was already brought up in Amendment 64 and it was voted for?
Tabor has very specific requirements how you vote on the tax. So the very first line of any Tabor or any tax initiative has to say, taxes, do you approve a tax to be increased by X number of dollars on the next ballot or on this next day? And it has to be very specific, and that language was not included in Amendment 64.
And you couldn't run, technically, a tax in the year that we ran Amendment 64.
I believe that's correct, too. You have to run all tax questions. Fiscal issues have to be an odd number.
Got it. So it wasn't an oversight by not putting that line in. They did it. They knew.
Yeah, it was like the law.
Well,
Tabor
I
is
don't know
very
if it was
complicated.
necessarily an oversight so much as I think they always knew they would have to be running this tax campaign. I think it was just that in order to really maximize Amendment 64, what better way to get voter turnout than doing it in an election year?
Absolutely.
And you can't run a fiscal issue in an election year. So I think we always knew it was going to be a bifurcated issue that we're going to have to do it one year and then follow it up with the next year.
No.
Although our opponents will accuse us and say that we were being sneaky and underhanded. I think we were always very forthright about
Sneaky
that.
and underhanded is what the opponents say. Strategic is what you say for yourself.
Yeah, no, we had to do it that way. And the Blue Book, which is the voter guide that every registered voter in Colorado gets, which explains issues, the candidates, etc., made it very clear that tax may not pass and that voters are going to have to vote on it again.
Okay.
Yes.
So it was very clear to voters.
So now that's a 15% sales tax.
That's the excise tax.
No, that's the excise tax on the whole.
The sales tax was tacked on by the legislature.
Oh, okay. So that's where I was confused in the explanation, because the excise tax is between the wholesale and the retail that we were talking about.
That's right.
Not? So that's the excise tax is going towards Best.
Best. It's earmarked. The first $40 million.
First $40 million.
See, my understanding was the excise tax was actually going to be tacked on for the retail side. So as a sales tax.
So the
I
sales
know
tax
different.
was tacked on.
Sales tax is what's going to pay for the regulations.
Regulations and
that's
regulatory
10. It
enforcement.
starts at 10. Can go up to 15.
I think that should be reversed.
And it's very hard to reverse taxes, but I think I agree. I mean, I think there's possibility in the future that it could be
because really, I'd rather have more money go to Best, and the regulatory system shouldn't get the same amount of money that Best is getting to help rebuild schools, to just regulate an industry to make that money. It just doesn't make sense to me personally.
Yeah.
So what does the 10% sales tax go to?
So this is going to go to fund a lot of the marijuana enforcement division. So it's regulatory oversight of the adult use marijuana industry.
How much of a nightmare do you think it's going to be for them to do the regulatory side of that?
Well, they don't have a very good track record.
No, they don't.
They don't with the MMED.
But I think they're taking a different approach, more conscientious this year. What do you think?
I think they are taking a better approach, and they've learned. I mean, this is a new industry, and that this is a new product that they're regulating, and
they're learning as they're going.
They're learning as they're going along.
Well, what do you see?
And everyone is scared. That there's a lot of unfounded public fear about marijuana, so there is a tendency to overregulate.
Of course.
Okay.
But again, another cost of being the first, state.
It's a give and take.
Absolutely.
Yeah, trailblazing
Absolutely.
on this.
Now, what do you think is different about their approach? I mean, you're saying it's better, but how do you think their approach is different this time?
I think they're finding better ways to track instead of they do the seed to sale, and they initially with medical marijuana had RFID radio frequency identification,
Which never really happened.
never really happened.
Yeah. I think their working groups have been a little bit more thorough. In my opinion, a little bit more.
I think so, because they've learned so much.
I think they've expanded the pool of voices that they hear from normally. I think that, and this is just my opinion from what I've been seeing, and I think that, I think they're really learning from their mistakes. I mean, they did get their ass kicked in that audit that came out earlier this year.
Oh, it was embarrassing.
And so, that makes you sit back and think, but that audit is also a result of when different people were in charge of Department of
you
Revenue.
really can't blame the people in charge right now at the MME.
Yeah, no, because they cleaned house, and now there's new people involved, and so you usually have to wait a year or two to see the results of something because it's not really immediate. It's a long-term kind of look back.
I mean, I think it was very mismanaged in the beginning, but at the same time, it's actually hard to blame them too much because they'd never done it before.
Yeah.
So they're just again, you should be a little more conservative in your spending.
And I think they will
I
be
think
this
that's
time
the
around.
big
issue.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot. It's
Fiscally
going to be very smart. I think as long as we keep, the greedy little piggies at the trough, as Senator Stedman liked to call them. Yeah. I love Senator Stedman. Vote Stedman.
Stedman's a great senator.
Great on this issue. As long as we really call them out. Like, for example, when Dr. Christian Thurstone and Smart Colorado are looking to suck money off of Denver Health for Denver city tax, which I think is ridiculous. Joe, what do you think? Do you think that, okay, so explain to me, Joe. I'm an adorable blonde, recently turned brunette, and I live in Denver, and I have a city tax.
Too.
I've got a state tax. What do I vote on?
Dirty blonde.
What do you think?
I think it's hard to say. I mean, I think you definitely have to approve the
no one likes you. You be quiet over there.
The state tax for sure. I mean, local taxes. I mean, they have yet to recommend a rate of taxation. The local guys, so it's gonna be hard to say. And they have really clear. They haven't really articulated what they're gonna spend that money on specifically. Either.
And aren't they getting money? I can't remember. I mean, I know we worked on the bill. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe. But aren't cities that opt in getting a share back from the state tax?
So out of the 10% sales tax, every locality that is selling gets 15% of that.
So they're not happy with just 15% of it. They're saying, well, now I want to add another additional, 5%, 10%?
I think they're counting on voters not knowing that, honestly. I think they're counting on voters coming at this as a sin tax and punishing people. But I think voters are going to prove the city's wrong. I don't know. Maybe.
But I will say this because, you guys, you've been in on these meetings, and we've seen municipalities already banning marijuana because they're concerned about the kids. I love that argument. I'm so worried about the kids because if it's legal, they're going to have so much more access to it from a regulated place.
Because then the
argument just cracks me up.
Risk perception goes down.
Yeah. Risk. Oh, I love that one too. Risk perception goes down because there is no risk, but we don't want them to perceive the truth about that risk, so we don't want that.
What's the risk perception?
Oh, you haven't heard this one?
It's bad for you.
Oh, I have.
It's a gateway drug.
They can't. You can't say it's bad for you anymore because they recognize that it's actually not really bad for you,
so they
used to
have
say.
An endocannabinoid system.
Right, exactly. So they're worried about the perception of kids having, recognizing that the risk is low.
Probably because then they're not so prone for their parents to
old.
send them to treatment, right?
It's unbelievable.
Anyways,
I heard that risk perception.
So Joe, what's going on?
A long time ago.
With all these municipalities opting out, what does that mean for our future?
Amendment 64 on the campaign trail, we are very clear time and again that localities could do whatever they wanted with Amendment 64, and we gave them the option to opt out, and bam.
Do you think they'll opt back in once they see how successful it's working?
I think Colorado Springs will have to.
I think a lot of them will. I agree.
Colorado Springs is the second largest market in Colorado when it comes to marijuana, and they completely ignored their voters' will.
Wow.
The city council and the mayor, and they voted against it 5-4. And the concern was the kids in the military, which cracks me up too because we all talk about PTSD all the time here, and it's like, well, if you care about the military, you might want the best drug out there for PTSD. What do you think, guys? Yeah. But then on the flip side, Manitou Springs, cute little town nestled into a little box canyon where, not box canyon actually, but kind of feels like that.
Floods recently.
They did just have the flood, so.
If only there was some source of revenue to help them repair that flood damage.
But they are looking at doing this.
Can you believe that one of their arguments during town council in Manitou Springs against it was that federal disaster relief might be impeded from reaching them because they had legalized retail marijuana? Can you believe that, Joe?
No, I can't believe that. Some of these arguments that they make are...
Yeah. They're just coming out of the butts.
They're stretching.
They really are stretching.
They really are.
I've never heard
but
it before,
Manitou is it does seem like it's leaning towards passing it, correct?
Yes, that's the sense I get.
Well, and here's what's going to happen, because my understanding, I think there's only 2 dispensaries that are considered Manitou Springs.
I believe so.
And the rest of El Paso County is not allowed to go recreational, including Palmer Lake, where there's 2 nice dispensaries up there, and they voted it down in Palmer Lake as well. So unless Pueblo decides to do recreational.
Pueblo has decided to do. I believe they're in, aren't they, Joe?
I think they are.
Yeah, Pueblo County is going.
I think Pueblo's just waiting.
So your choice,
to get in,
so your choice, if you live down in southern Colorado, if you live in Colorado Springs, is to just drive right over to Manitou, which won't take you very long, depending on what part of Colorado Springs you live in, or take a nice hour-long drive to go down to Pueblo. Now, Pueblo is going to do well just for their local citizens in the fair.
Yes.
Assuming, state fair every year. But Manitou Springs, these 2 dispensaries in Manitou Springs, are poised to make a killing.
I'd imagine.
Yeah.
And I mean, and good for them. I want to see any business do well. I feel bad for all the great dispensary owners in Colorado Springs that don't get to take advantage of this for at least a couple of years.
Yeah, it's tough shot for those guys. They're getting a rough deal on this. But, in fairness to the Colorado Springs City Council, Amendment 64 was a 50-50 split vote. It won by 10 votes.
51-49.
10 votes in El Paso County.
Votes.
I don't know what the breakdown was just in City Council. So, with their breakdown of the City Council, 4-5, they are representing maybe their constituencies.
But I hear right now rumors of people maybe thinking about doing a referendum to overturn the ban.
Yeah, and there's talks about recall down there. The recall,
really, even more recall on top of the Morse recall.
Yeah.
Really,
the city council members.
They're very unhappy with them. Well, because there was more vocal people. I mean, from my understanding, at the city council meeting, there wasn't anybody speaking for the ban.
There was a lot more public, as my understanding as well. There was a lot more public support for marijuana and for implementing Amendment 64.
So do you think Colorado Springs is just going to be in a rebuking the government kind of mood?
I think that, given what we know about Colorado Springs, I think it's definitely something that is likely down there.
Well, and I saw lots of comments on the stories, and I don't know anybody in Colorado Springs who's happy with their city council. I mean, not just
or
for that.
Mayor Bach, really.
Or Mayor Bach. They're unhappy about a lot of things, but this is just one more piece of that puzzle that's just like, really, you guys seriously are just like literally flipping the finger to the voters is how they feel. Like you said, it was very close, but that's how they feel.
Yeah. No, with this, what's going on around John Morse, I think a lot of people had wanted to recall him and signed recall petitions, not just because of guns, but because of his old attitude.
And what did he
his
do in
arrogant
the
attitude.
legislature?
Wait. We got to go on a break. So let's come back and talk about John Morse because I want to hear more about this.
Oh, yeah. MPP came out with a little
Yeah.
a little list calling him the worst state legislature in the nation on
Awesome.
marijuana.
All right, so we'll be back to talk about the worst state legislature in Colorado.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding. Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
The Law Office of Edson, Mayton, and Matz provides criminal defense, family law, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running a medical marijuana center, optional premises cultivation operation, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout the state of Colorado. We're focused on providing high-quality service and customer satisfaction. We will do everything we can to meet your expectations. WarrenEdson.com. Edson, Mayton, and Matz in Denver, 303-831-8188, and in Aspen, 970-948-7183. WarrenEdson.com.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
All right, we are back in the studio today for our very political conversation here with Mr. Joe Megysey. We were talking
Thanks
about
for having me.
Oh, we love having you
I
on,
love
Joe.
having
It's
Joe
great.
around.
We love talking politics, and it's great because both of you kind of rein me in because I'm Mr. Tangent lately.
Well, I just like the fact that Joe's a conservative and he's for marijuana and, he understands the issue. I mean, to me, at the end of the day, and I think to a lot of people, it's just like a civil rights issue. It really is. Like, you should be able to do to your body what you want to do to your body. Like, if they're the most sovereign thing out there, I think, is your own body.
But
and
see,
government shouldn't be able to tell you.
I think that's a conservative point, though. That's
It
what
is.
cracks
It
me
really
up.
is,
Everyone
yeah.
thinks it's liberal.
No, that's
but
a
it's
very-
actually conservative.
Yeah, it really is.
Because I was gonna say I feel very conservative in a lot of things. Like I feel like the MMED or the MED now should be run like a business.
Yeah, absolutely. I
You know?
agree.
I do believe in that. And
And
I
with
don't
marijuana,
like the way
government
spending
shouldn't be picking and choosing winners
Winners
in
and losers,
business.
yeah.
Winners and
Exactly.
losers with business.
Absolutely, absolutely. But we were talking about the recalls in Colorado Springs, and I kind of want to get into this because why is
So why is John Morse being recalled again?
Yes.
Well, it's mostly because of his support for gun control legislation. And, being representing the Colorado Springs area, which is a pretty conservative area.
True.
They say that he's going against the will of his voters. But, I'm of the thought that it's not just around gun control. It's on his attitudes towards a lot of his voters and his constituents. He went up there thinking he could just, write policy, went up to Denver thinking he could just write policy how he thinks it's best instead of what his constituents think, instead of representing them. And so I think he, at the very last minute at the state legislature, the Monday before, 2 days before the legislature ended, the Colorado legislature
Last
has
day you
to
could
end.
possibly get a bill for
it
it.
has to end at a certain date.
You need 3 days to pass a bill in the Colorado State Legislature. So 2 days before session end is the very, very last moment, possibly, that you can introduce a bill.
He orchestrated a plan that basically would have repealed Amendment 64.
It was terrible.
And he was a ringleader of that.
So you're saying it's more his tactics.
I think so, and it's his style. And I think marijuana, as you pointed out, David, Colorado Springs is the second largest market for marijuana in the state. And there's obviously a lot of people that care about it down there. If there weren't, that market wouldn't be supported.
Yep.
And so, when they viewed him, when stories came, it was public that he was behind this effort in the news. When stories came down that he was trying to repeal Amendment 64.
And who worked on him with this effort? Who was the
there
lobbying group behind that?
And it was the Smart Colorado group, the group of concerned mothers
Dumb
against
Colorado group.
against
I like to just say anything but.
marijuana legalization. They're the prohibitionists.
And they
basically.
what they essentially did, for people who don't know, is they had created the tax bill, which we needed, which was necessary per what we voted for Amendment 64. And that has to go through a referendum through the state legislature. And they were going to make a constitutional referendum, which was going to take 2/3 of the vote. And they were going to make it so that if the taxes didn't pass, so if voters didn't vote for the tax, that Amendment 64 would have been repealed from the Constitution.
So it was an ultimatum.
It was an ultimatum. It was putting a gun to voters' head, which is ironic from the guy who tried to ban guns.
Interesting.
Yes. And I say this as a Democrat and a liberal.
Right.
I know. I'm just giving you facts.
Thanks.
These are facts.
Thank you for those.
But it
no,
wasn't just John Morris leading there, wasn't
It
it?
wasn't.
Yeah,
There
wasn't.
were Republicans
You're
that were
absolutely
very,
right.
very
Oh,
involved
it
in
took
that.
2/3, Joe,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's all the Democrats and then at least, a good chunk of the Republicans, too, in the Senate.
Now, is there a record of who voted for this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
How many people?
Yes.
23 people, 23 co-signers.
Yeah, there was only a handful of folks in the Senate that did not vote for this. Senator Pat Sedman, as you just said, Senator Owen Hill, Republican from
Senator Vicky Marble.
Vicky Marbles, another Republican. There were some other Democrats that voted against it as well.
Yeah.
But it didn't make 2/3.
I thought that
No, it was
supposed
a
to be
handful.
anonymous.
It was less than 10 senators out of a 35-member Senate
That did vote for us.
that voted for
to
us.
repeal it.
Yeah.
Oh, voted
No,
for us.
voted for.
Oh, so we just made it then, basically, what you're
yeah,
saying.
basically.
Well,
Well,
we had to kill it in the House.
It got killed in the House.
It got killed in the House.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
It got out of the Senate.
Thank
Well,
you.
what had
Thank you to
happened
the
was
House.
Mark Ferrandino, Speaker of the House, actually came out and spoke with, because they had no idea. And, the word was that House had no idea the Senate was going to pull this maneuver. And so they, Speaker of the House, once we informed him what was going on and informed the rest of his caucus and the Republican caucus as well, what the sneaky little tricks that the Senate was up to, he walked over there, had a discussion with the Senate president, and that sort of ended.
And so that was it.
Yeah, so it just
Good.
died on the floor.
Well, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, think of how ugly that would have become.
It would have been. I just don't understand. It would have been, I think, a public relations nightmare with the voters.
It would have been. It would have been like, we just
I mean,
literally flipped the bird to the voters of Colorado when it was a very large margin for a vote.
More people than Barack Obama.
More people than Barack Obama voted for it.
Or John Hickenlooper 2 years prior.
Or John Hickenlooper.
Wow.
Big surprise.
And so
there.
you're talking about something that how many more recall elections would we have had if that had gone through?
Exactly.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. But no, I think it's good. I mean, that's when a recall should happen. Is when you're like, hey, this public official is ignoring my wishes.
So how do we get these legislators onto our side? Like, how do we build this goodwill as a community and as an industry to get these legislators to
Well, I think these
take us seriously?
These philanthropic activities are really important.
That was
like
the best
clinic,
bringback. That was awesome.
Like the clinic golf tournament. I think other marijuana businesses would be very smart to do similar things to give back to the community.
I know Pink House is doing a fundraiser for Ed Perlmutter.
That's right.
Because he's sponsoring the banking
Well,
legislation.
but here's the great thing: giving is like contagious.
Yeah.
And all these dispensaries and edible companies and vape pens and us as well as being media sponsors for the clinic, we were very proud to be a part of it. And then when you find out you're raising $40,000 for MS, and this is the 4th year they've done this, and that was a minimum. I don't know the exact amount. I know it was more than that actually, and they keep getting it better and better every year. Everybody who was there, I mean, you experienced this as well, Sam, we're very happy to be there. Not just because it's a fun event, because let's be honest, it's a fun event.
Joe, you should have been.
I know. I keep missing out on all these fun events.
I mean, it's everybody in the marijuana industry basically taking over a golf course for the day.
I think, Joe,
I'm a terrible golfer. I'm a much bigger camper than I am a golfer.
I think, Joe, next year you and I, and we'll get one with Cindy Cedarberg or something.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Let's
get a little foursome out there.
You put together, well, that's the thing, is they had foursomes out there
Yeah.
that weren't there to play golf to be competitive. They were just there to be supportive of MS and have a good time.
But the other thing is when gaining more of these legislators to respect this industry, it's not a Republican Democrat issue. It's not a left right issue. It's really not. And so a lot of it is education, and you just have to get out there and talk to these politicians and educate them about the business and get them going. Now, granted, I will admit, more Democrats are in favor of marijuana legalization, the marijuana movement, than Republicans. There's no doubt. But, Republican Party is in a state of flux right now. It's changing. The libertarians are kind of coming up now.
But you're one of those people, Joe, that makes me go, I feel the same way about myself, actually, is that you're not a conservative. You're just a person you're an independent. Everybody like because you don't do lockstep with the Republican Party on your opinions.
No, certainly not.
And I'm not lockstep on the Democratic Party either. I know you're not either. I mean, everybody really should. I just hate the party system. I think that's my problem because everybody labels it. When you say conservative, the first time I heard that, I was like, Joe's a Republican? And then I realized, yes, you're conservative on a lot of issues.
You can tell because he's so well dressed, actually.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Republicans are snappy dressed.
So I must be a Democrat.
And the hair. He's got that like Michael P. Keaton hair.
He does have the Michael P. Keaton hair. You're right. That's okay, though.
That's okay.
But you know, like Mike Hoffman is co-sponsoring that legislation to fix the banking fix with Congressman
Jared Polis is our
Jared
Polis is our champion.
Jared
The
Polis
Republicans are coming around. Tom Tancredo
was
making the governor run again.
He was probably the most prominent politician that came to support Amendment 64, and you don't get more conservative than Tom Tancredo.
How do you think he's going to do on his governor run, Joe?
We'll see. It's going to be tough. I think he can look probably very tough to beat.
But for me to bring us home is kind of funny. But like I think, but I do think that you're right. I mean, I think these philanthropic endeavors by the cannabis industry should be a priority because the more we become like invested in the community, the more the community becomes invested in us in the industry, saying, "Wow, look at all of the good that the existence of the cannabis industry is doing for this state at the very least."
Yeah, and I don't think it's just philanthropic measures though. I think just being politically involved in general, like whether you're joining trade organizations or you're joining fundraisers, send in a $5 check to the politician who actually voted the way you wanted on Amendment 64 regulation. Like $5 goes a long way.
It's like tipping your politician.
Or you can just write $64.
Yeah, give them a $64 donation.
I like that. Yeah. I like that. I might have to do that. But speaking of the philanthropic things, we're actually stepping into one. And we've recruited you, Joe, whether you knew it or not.
That's right. No, I'm very excited for our New Year's fundraiser.
The New Year's Eve gala that the Hemp Connoisseur is kind of hosting, but really it's not about us at all. It's about the industry. It is trying to get everybody in the industry involved in our New Year's Eve gala. And I'm very happy to have you on board on this, actually, Joe, because Sam says you know how to throw a party. So
I do.
But yeah,
that was my gayest assumption.
Now, Sam, would you like to tell everybody again what the charity is that we're going to be doing?
Yes, it's for Healing Homes, which is a charity sponsored by Rocky Mountain Hemp Association, where we're going to be basically trying to build houses out of hemp materials. So we were working on some hemp-based board, hemp insulation, fire-resistant materials, really green, natural. And right now, the first step is we have to really research these materials, get them built, get them donated from people. We're going to build a demo house, and then we're going to be able to build real houses out of it. And then we want to be able to donate these houses to people who've lost their homes due to the recent wildfires that have been ravaging our state.
Well, and we should say it might not be the recent wildfires.
No, I mean, it might be the recent wildfires.
This is going to be a process.
This is a marathon charity. It really is. But that's because this is such a new industry. Hemp really is. While there are 30 other countries in the world that actually have a pretty good, robust hemp industry, the United States, while we're the number one hemp consumer, we don't really have any kind of the ground up makings
because we don't grow
launch this industry because we don't grow it.
Well, we do now.
So
and these hemp products are also fire retardant, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they're fire resistant, which was the whole genesis of the idea. But a lot of them still need to be energy rated.
Does that mean my
They
shorts?
are mold resistant as well.
Resistant,
mold not a huge problem in Colorado,
resistant.
but big in
Does
like
that mean my
Oregon.
shorts are pest resistant?
Carbon dioxide
I'm wearing
absorbent.
55% hemp shorts right now.
Well,
so.
and they're
Yeah,
better
those are fire
insulators
resistant,
as
you know
well.
that, right?
They're better
That's
insulators.
probably why they were so expensive.
Yes.
But yeah, this is going to be like one of those. I mean, look, we're in Colorado. There's going to be wildfires a lot every year. There's always going to be fire damage. Not that we want that to happen, but it's kind of an inevitability here. And so we want to be poised with Healing Homes to be ready to help any future fire victims
To help people get back on their feet.
To get back on their feet.
It's always a tragedy. I mean, it would be lovely if we could get through a year without any sort of real property damage, from these wildfires. That we're suffering from global warming, which is real, conservatives.
That's a topic for another day.
We'll just call it climate change. I like that.
I agree to disagree, Joe. But we really, it's actually a very important issue. And, these people were devastated. And they, it would be nice to be able to help people get back on their feet. And if we can do it and launch an industry at the same time, launch a brand new market, especially for the way people are going. I think a lot more people are conscientious about the kinds of materials they surround themselves with, and especially something that's environmentally friendly. I really do think this is going to be a boon to Colorado.
It sounds like it's a great way to ring in the new year.
It
Raise
is.
all this money for this great charity, and then the next day everyone who wants to, that is, can walk into a legal marijuana store and buy their marijuana legally with a photo ID.
Well, that's one of the things I love about this whole concept that we've all kind of worked on this charity is it's like you're basically killing like 4 birds with one stone.
Yes.
Because, we're helping the hemp industry.
Yes.
We're helping, we're building to help people in need in Colorado for rebuilding their homes with a better material for fires. We're helping show a much more mature side of the cannabis industry by creating a black and white gala.
Said the guy who was running around in a neon thong at Bongathon.
Me?
Yeah.
I was not running around.
Yeah, not that you remember.
That might have been in one of my weird lucid dreams. But we're helping the marijuana industry kind of show the image of like, hey, we're here to help. We're part of the community. You don't want to get rid of us.
Yeah, it's absolutely about boosting industry profile too.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
this is where our interest should lie. We should lie, in being a part of the community instead of a sort of ostracized subset. For far too long, I think people in this community have lived on the outskirts, lived as outliers, lived in the shadows, had to conceal your lifestyle, which we kind of still do now. It's still sort of taboo. Even though I can sit here on camera and probably like throw back a few wines and beers and no one would think anything of it. Kathy Lee and Hoda do it all the time. They're my heroes. But somebody were to like light up a joint on the Today Show, everyone would lose their minds.
I actually said that in the letter from the editor this issue in the magazine because I was just like, I was just relaying the story that the fact that one of my neighbors didn't want us to smoke because the smoke would waft over to her neighbor who was just moved here from Oklahoma, and I was like, well, would you care if it was a beer and he saw you drinking? I'm like, no. I'm like, okay, well, it's the same thing. Just be open and like not be scared anymore, and I said, when in Rome do's the Romans do. When in Colorado, smoke a bowl.
There you go.
Nice. I like that. I'll do that.
On that note, we do have to end it, don't we?
Oh, are we ending on time?
We are really ending it on time.
Oh, that is a first. What do we do to celebrate?
First.
Oh, I have
that
a celebration pipe right
to
here.
celebrate, let's go 5 minutes over. No,
wait, maybe we should tell everybody when the New Year's Eve gala is.
New Year's Eve?
I know, I was making a joke.
I know.
It
I'm
was a
sorry.
terrible joke.
No, I'm sorry.
New Year's Eve.
Oh, New Year's Eve.
It's going to be a New Year's Eve. It's going to be at Castleman's Bar and Venue. We will not be selling tickets quite yet because we're lining up some things first and foremost.
Yes.
But we're looking at open bar, black and white. We're going to be inviting
Were we going with the whole Prohibition 1940s theme?
We're trying to book a really good like swing band for this event. And the idea is let's swing into the new year and celebrate the end of Prohibition.
That'll be great. I'm excited. It's going to be a great party.
I'm so excited, Joe.
Right on. And this is the first time I've never been able to go to a party like this. So I was like, I've always wanted to go to one of these kind of parties.
Little speakeasy.
Let's create one.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Joe, I'd like to thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much again for having me. It's always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure to have Mr. Joe Megysey on.
It's all right.
I'd like to thank our other co-host today, Mr. Sam Lewis Isaacs.
Thank you for having me on the show today.
It's always great to have you on, Joe.
Sam needs his own show sometimes.
Sam will need his own show at some point.
I have one in my head.
That's going on right now. It's going on right now.
Yeah.
I'd love to thank my producer, Christian.
And me.
And I was getting there.
Oh, well.
And, of course, I'd like to thank the lovely Miss Samantha Wall.
Oh, thank you, the lovely David.
She doesn't know my last name.
I do too.
Helena.
Madalena.
There you go. There you go. That's kind of messed up. Okay, until next time. Thanks for listening to Hemp Connoisseur Radio, and peace, love, and
Hempiness.
yeah.